For Taiwan Semiconductor stock investors, one of the critical elements for success of this stock is going to be the success of the company's ability to diversify its manufacturing footprint outside of Taiwan. It's already started, it's already underway, and it's committing over $150 billion to this endeavor at least. There is likely going to be further investment from Taiwan Semiconductor. So I thought it'd be very important to highlight and discuss the progress so far, what the company's plans are, and what it could mean for TSM stock investors.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right, so in case you've been sleeping under a rock for the previous 2 months, one of the bigger developments has been the increase in tariffs from the president in the United States against all of the United States trading partners. Now, there was already geopolitical risk associated with Taiwan Semiconductor stock because of the relationship between Taiwan and China and the United States. And now that the president of the United States has increased tariffs on nearly all of the United States' trading partners, those risks, those geopolitical risks, became even more elevated for TSM stock investors. The company had undertaken a strategy to diversify away from Taiwan, and it's making great progress. And so I'm going to report on that progress here. Right? So one of the bigger initiatives for Taiwan Semiconductor is its investment in the US, given that some of its biggest customers are US based companies, including Apple, Nvidia, and AMD. So their total investment in the US now in Arizona is up to $165 billion to support the multi-year demand from their customers. So this is after they've had discussions with their customers, including Apple and Nvidia, who told Taiwan Semiconductor, we can order a certain amount from you for the next few years at the very least, but we would really prefer if you can have a presence in the United States. That way, our supply chain risk is also reduced. And so Taiwan Semiconductor, to accommodate its customers, is increasing its investment in the United States. So its first fabrication facility in Arizona has already successfully entered high volume production in Q4 24, utilizing N4 process technology with a yield comparable to our fab in Taiwan. So this N4 stands for 4 nanometer, and for this semiconductor industry, the smaller the number, the more advanced the technology. So N4 is more advanced than N6, and N3 is more advanced than N4, etc. So the construction of their second fab, which will utilize the 3 nanometer process technology, is already complete, and they are working on speeding up the volume production based on the strong AI-related demand from their customers. Their third facility will utilize N2 and A16 process technologies with the expectation of receiving all necessary permits to begin construction later this year. Then the fifth and sixth fab will use even more advanced technologies. So there's a lot to unpack here. Let's start with the fact that they are producing the most advanced technologies in the United States now. Previously, when they were talking about expanding geographically outside of Taiwan, the management team talked about how it's going to be very challenging for them to develop the latest generation technology outside of Taiwan because they have so much of their capabilities is centered around Taiwan, and they didn't know if they can do it outside of Taiwan. This news here is demonstrating great confidence from TSM's management team that they can indeed and will indeed and already are producing their most advanced technology in the United States. So that's great news for several reasons. First of all, it reduces the geopolitical risk for Taiwan Semiconductor stock investors. If it's going to have 5 or 6 fabrication facilities in Arizona producing its latest generation technology, that reduces the worst case scenario for TSM stock investors. If they should, for some reason, lose control of their fabrication facilities in Taiwan, they have these facilities here in the United States where they can shift all of their production. And if the worst case scenario does happen, I'm sure there's plans where they can expand these existing facilities further to increase the capacity and increase the amount they can produce and deliver to their customers. So this was great to hear. I was very pleased to see this. And this is also good news for others in the industry, including NVIDIA and Apple, because one of the biggest risks for NVIDIA and Apple is their supply chain right now. They are notorious for outsourcing their manufacturing. Apple and Nvidia are primarily design companies. They design these products, but they are manufactured by partners. And so Taiwan Semiconductor is a primary partner for both Nvidia and Apple. The company went on to say that after completion, around 30% of their 2 nanometer and more advanced capacity will be located in Arizona, creating an independent leading edge semiconductor manufacturing cluster in the United States. Also, their first specialty technology fab in Kumamoto has already started volume production in late 2024 with a very good yield. So, with this 30% especially being located in Arizona, that should be enough, especially with the option to expand. That should be enough to serve the US market. If for some reason it's not and they become supply constrained, they can focus on their biggest customers, their most important customers, and pause or delay some of their other customer orders and then build more, expand their facilities if they need to. Taiwan, they still believe that they can achieve gross profit margins in the mid 50% range even after diversifying the supply chain. And they've kind of hinted at the fact that they can also ask their customers to pay a little bit more because they're doing this for their customers. And of course, there have been talks with their customers saying, look, NVIDIA and Apple will be happy to reduce your supply chain risk by expanding outside of Taiwan. But in exchange, pay us, 5% more or 10% more for what we're delivering to you. And if they are able to get that 5 or 10% price increase, that could offset the difference between the higher cost of goods sold because they also get a benefit of lower transportation cost. They also get the benefit of being in closer proximity to the end customer, which is offsetting the higher cost of goods sold. In all, this is good news for Taiwan Semiconductor stock investors because it reduces the biggest risk, which is one of the big reasons why Taiwan Semiconductor is not trading at a higher price, is because of the risk. Because if you look at the business itself, the profit margins are excellent, the revenue growth prospects are excellent, and so the primary reason why it's trading at a depressed valuation is because of the geopolitical risk, which the company is just spending $165 billion to decrease. Hey everyone, so many of you have been asking about my investing strategy, and I'm excited to announce that I've written a book that's available for sale now that describes my 6-step investing framework for evaluating stocks. I've added the link in the description below.